Assalamu alaikum, and another morning again. I mean, I'm in front of you, and good morning and assalamu alaikum again to all of you. I hope you're enjoying your lectures and you are going through a lovely day, and you're also enjoying your day as well. Huh? Are you all enjoying your day? Okay, that's great. So we are in our new lecture. So this is our science lecture today. So in science, there's a lot to say, there's a lot to observe, and there's a lot to know. So there are many things which we observe sometimes, but we don't know why does that happen. What is the reason behind that? So we are going to do an experiment today, and we're going to learn the reason behind that. That why does that happen? So we are going to do an experiment, and that is going to add up in a learning, a knowledge. That we are going to learn a concept today of something which is related, that's even related to our daily life a little, that is even related to science. And these experiments help us to observe many things, to learn many things, to explore new things, which we are going to do. So we are going to do today, and we are going to see that there are some things which swim onto the water, they float onto the water, and there are some things which does not float on the water, and they go inside the water, right? So we are going to do an experiment with that. So what I'm going to do is, I have a bowl, a clear bowl, which you can see clearly, right? There's a clear bowl with water in it, right? Can you see the water? Yay, that's great. So we have water in it. And I'll try to just fix my camera so you can see that. So I hope that you can see this as well. Right, so I'll just put the clear up things. So here is the ball, and I think you all can see the ball, right? And now one by one, I am going to put the objects in the ball, and you are going to guess that whether this is going to sink in it or it is going to float on that, right? I will put the objects one by one, and then I will take them out, right? So this is our clear bowl, and we have water in it, and we are going to see that which are the objects which are going to drown in that, they're not going to float on that, and which are the ones we are going to go onto the bottom. And you have to observe that. You even have to guess that before I will put them inside. Okay, first of all, I am going to take a pencil, which we usually daily use this pencil. So what do you think? What do you guess that is this pencil going to float on the water, or this is going to go down? If you think this is going to go down, you are going to thumb down. And if you think this is going to float, you're going to give it a thumb up. Okay, now all of you, you're going to observe that if we are going to do it like this, that means this object is going to float. And if you're going to do like this, that means this is not going to float. So you're going to make a guess, and let's see how your guess goes. And I hope that you all can see this ball very clearly, right? So I'm just going to put that on the water surface. Let's see. Oh, wow, this is floating. The pencil is floating on the water surface. That's great. Wow, that's lovely. I didn't know that it is going to float. Okay, so I'm just taking it out and putting it back. Okay, now I am going to take this fork. I have a fork. It's not a plastic fork. It is a steel fork. So let's see what happens. I am just going to put it on the water surface. Oh, this is not flowing. It's not floating, right? It just went down. Can you see in the ball? It's not floating. It's in at the bottom of the water, right? Yeah. So this is not floating. So we are just going to take it out. Okay, so we will put it aside. So this is not floating, right? Okay, now I'm going to take another thing. See, this is the ice cream stick, which we use for our arts class. So let's see, I'm going to put, what do you think? Is it going to float or is it going to drown? Okay, let's see whose guess is correct and whose is not. I'm going to put it, wow. The stick is floating. Wow, that's great. Okay, now we will discuss later on once we do the experiment that why some of things are floating and why some of are not floating. Okay, now I have this rubber band, this elastic band. So what do you think? Is it going to float or drown? Okay, let's say, ooh, wow, this is also floating. It's not going down. Okay, that's great. So this is not, this is floating. It's not going down. Okay, now I'm going to take these scissors. This is also made up of steel. So any guesses? This is of plastic and the rest of it is steel. It will not float. Okay, let's see. Oh yes, good guess. The scissor is not floating on the surface. It went down. Okay, that's great. It just went down. So we are just going to clean it up and put it back. Oh, wow. Now I want this for you. This is a leaf. And now we're going to see that is this going to float or not? What do you think? Is it going to float? Okay, let's see. I'm just putting it on the surface. Yay, it is floating. Can you see it clearly? Yeah, the leaf is floating on the surface. Yeah, that's great. So this means this floats. Or it's coming up on, it's going down, but that's it. It's floating. That's great. That's lovely. This is also floating. So we are going to put this back. Okay, now I have this cube. This is styrofoam cube. And let's see that it is going to float. What do you think? Is it going to float or it's not going to float? Okay, okay, let's see whose guess is correct. Yay, wow. We can even make a board out of this. This is floating. That is great. Wow, see? Wow, it's floating, floating. Okay, that's great. This is also floating. Oh, wow. I have, okay, I'm going to, this is an eraser, which we use daily for writing and erasing, right? So I'm just going to see whether this is going to float or not. Let's see, what do you think? What do you guess about that? Is it going to float or not? Oops, it made a bubble and it went down. Did you see that? When I put it over here, oops, can you see the bubbles? Yeah, it made the bubbles. Okay, that's great. So this was the eraser and it just went down. Oh, wow. I have a stone, right? Now, what do you think? Is it going to float or not? What do you think? Float? Not? Okay, let's see. I cannot even drop it. Ah, see, it's not floating because this was heavy. Oh my God, okay. Now the stone is not floating. That's it. Okay, that's good. The stone is not floating. So we are going to put that back and we will just see that why stone did not float over here. Okay, now I have a piece of this cardboard. right? This is a cardboard piece now. What do you think? Is it going to float or not? Okay, let's see. Look at this. Yay, this is floating. This is not going down. Wow, that's great. We can even make a board of this as well. Oh, wow. I like it. Okay. It got wet, but it did not sink down. Okay, so I have these two petals, which I picked up from the ground. I did not pluck the flower. And I just pick it up from the ground. It fell on the ground, so I just picked it up for you. This just have to see whether they're going to float or not. Oh, wow, they are floating. That's nice. Very, very, very good. Wow, that's so lovely, and they look even beautiful floating on the water. Wow, that's super great. So we did a lot of things which float, and some of things which did not float. Now I'm just going to have a look at this. Okay, so this is, I'm just going to put it up here. Now I have a peg. It's a small peg. Now let's see. This is made up of wood. So let's see whether this is going to float or not. Okay. Okay, let's put it over here. It is kind of floating. It's not going down, but it's not floating horizontally, but it's floating vertically. It's not going down, but it's floating. Can you see this? Yeah, this is floating like a fish. Wow, that's lovely. That's lovely. Okay, that's great. So we just have to get this dried, and we're going to just put it back. Okay, now I have another thing. I have a ring. It's a ring, right? So let's see whether this is going to drown or float. Oops. Did you hear the sound? And did you see the bubbles? Okay, that means this even does not float. It sank down. Okay, that's great. That's lovely. So I am just going to put the ball over here. Okay, and we're going to just fix the camera again back. So you see, there were like many things which floated on the water, and there were many which drowned on the water. So there are many reasons. So you see, when you saw this stone, you see, this is very heavy. So there are a couple of reasons that something is going to float or something is going to sink in that. See, this did not float on the water. Why? Because this is very heavy. And this piece of this styrofoam that was floating, because this is very light. And the density of this is, it's very dense. All the molecules are very near bounded. So this is heavy. That's why, and it's very, very difficult to break it up. And molecules here are very, there's space between the molecules. There is much space between the molecules. So that is floating on that. And this is very heavy. Even this is not floating, and the density of this is very high. So that's why it is drowned into the water. And this, the lighter ones, the light things like the flower, like the petal, or like the leaf, they were like floating, and the piece of this cardboard that was even floating. See, all these things are very, very light. Even the pencil was floating on that. So this is very light. The other thing which was floating was this ice cream stick, because this is also very light. See, I can put every single thing on that. And then yes, this peg, the small peg, was also floating on that. So see, there were many things which are floating there, and they're all very light. And the things which were not floating on that, yes, this eraser was not floating, and this went down. Why? Because this is very heavy and dense, right? This was not even floating, and obviously you have seen this. Oh my God, this is also, these are very heavy things. They did not float on, they went down at the bottom of the water, right? So heavier things drown, lighter things float, the dense things they drown, and there are like many reasons. So you are going to take a plastic bowl. You're not going to take the glass bowl. Why I took the glass bowl was because this is clear and you'll be able to see this clearly. So I took that. You're not going to take the glass bowl from your mama's kitchen because this could be dangerous. Maybe that this can slip off your hand. So you are not going to take the glass bowl. You're going to take the plastic bowl because that will be easy to handle, that will be lightweight, and if it like slip off your hands, that will be okay. That does not make any bad thing, right? And like you ask any of your elders, your siblings, to sit with you for this experiment, to collect the things first, the different kind of things you're going to collect, and then you're going to take a bowl. You're going to fill, you're not going to fill it the whole. Leave a little space, as I left a little space over here. You see, this is not fully filled, it is filled up to this, right? So you're not going to fill it up till, like, you're not going to make it full. You're going to leave the space so you can see there are like things which are floating on that, right? And you are going to do that experiment at home. That's so amazing. That will be very fun. You're going to pick up things first, and then you're going to see which is going to drown and which is going to float, and you can play a game like that. Okay, so this was our science class today, in which we have learned about sink and float, and it was a lovely activity. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to say goodbye to you from this class now, and I'll see you in the next class very soon, inshallah. Till then, stay safe, be happy, and be grateful for whatever you have. Okay, so bye bye and Allah Hafiz.